Larry's in a different room too. Now Larry's in a different room.
Just stay, don't go beyond your line. Okay, are we more or less ready to go? Mm-hmm. All right, ready? Thanks. Morning, we'll call the Bucks County Board of Commissioners meeting of August 12th to order, and I would ask our Clerk of Courts, Brian Monroe, to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance today.
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic which stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good morning, everybody. We have a few row offices here. If they'd like to just quickly raise their hand and introduce themselves.
Good morning, everyone. I'm First Bellamy, the Treasurer. Good morning, Liz Robbins, Registrar. Good morning, Eric Connor.
Good morning, Brian Monroe.
Good morning, everybody. Matt White.
Thank you. Thanks, everybody. We have one proclamation today, and that is for Nova. Nova's here. There you are. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and read the proclamation, and then you can come up. This is for the Not on My Watch Day program. Whereas child sexual abuse is an insidious, often hidden crime obscured by closed doors, sealed lips, and victims whose wounds are not obvious to a public not trained to see them. And whereas these factors were on stark national display in the Jerry Sandusky scandal at Penn State, where young boys were sexually abused for 15 years without decisive intervention. And whereas proceeds of post-Sandusky litigation were used to fund sexual abuse prevention training through a grant seeking to eradicate child sexual abuse in Bucks County and other counties by placing the onus for doing so on all responsible adults. And whereas the Network of Victim Assistance has worked diligently to lead the Safe and Healthy Communities Initiative, here a central part of what is CSA Stoppers, a 2-hour evidence-based awareness training. And whereas Nova seeks to train at least 5% of Bucks County's residents to recognize the signs of sexual abuse effectively, adding 25,000 advocates for our children's safety. And whereas COVID-19 has presented additional challenges to this effort, both by isolating children in settings where abuse can be better hidden and less readily reported, and by necessitating the use of instructions for Nova's Darkness to Light training. Whereas Nova is now enlisting the support of government officials, community leaders, and public officials, including the Bucks County Board of Commissioners and District Attorney Matt Weintraub, in a Not on My Watch campaign to bolster this education and awareness efforts. So now, therefore, do we, the Bucks County Board of Commissioners, proclaim August 20th, 2020, Not on My Watch Day throughout the County of Bucks, and we lend our full support to launch on that day an all-out countywide sign-up campaign for this training. And in so doing, we declare that the tragedy of child sexual abuse will not be tolerated in any way on our watch. And we commit the visibility and reach of our office to assist in the eradication of this horrible crime. I thank you for this, and I thank Nova for coming today and for the program, and we do truly offer our full support. If you'd like to make some comments, you can come on up.
Good morning, everyone.
Just speak loud right into it.
A little bit louder here. Thank you to Commissioner Marseglia, Commissioner Harvey, Commissioner DiGirolamo for this proclamation today, for your continued support of our campaign here in Bucks County, and your continued support of Nova and our work and our mission of supporting and empowering victims and their families here in Bucks County. We know that in Bucks County we have this really incredible community that often comes together around key issues. And so we're really looking forward to August 20th when we're going to bring this community together again as we all stand up and say, not on my watch. Over the past 2.5 years, with the continued support of our commissioners, Nova has been working to train adults to be child sexual abuse, or CSA, stoppers. Through the training, the free CSA stoppers training, our CSA stoppers come to realize that the 1 in 10 children who will be sexually abused in Bucks County before their 18th birthday is simply unacceptable. Through this training, we can give CSA stoppers the tools, the prevention skills to step up, say not on my watch, and protect children from experiencing sexual abuse and the often lifelong consequences of that. Over the past 2.5 years, we have trained over 4,000 CSA stoppers. That is 4,000 adults in our Bucks County community who have stood up and said, not here, not our children, not on our watch. We also have our Bucks County commissioners and our district attorney, Matt Weintraub, who have also stood up and declared, not on my watch. On August 20th, we're hoping that thousands more of adults in Bucks County will step up and also say, not on my watch, and sign up to take this training with us. We look forward to further discussing how all of our community members can get further involved in a virtual news conference tomorrow. And I just wanted to close by again saying thank you for all of your continued support.
Thank you. Thank you. Do you want to do a picture? Do you want to walk down and do a picture? Or you want us to walk down and do a picture? Or?
Stay here?
Okay.
We'll stay here.
You'll come right here. Let me give
Sitting
you the
or standing?
proclamation. If you stand kind of in front of me, does that work? Okay. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Take good care. Be safe. We have a few seconds left for any public comment that is coming in on agenda items through the internet, or through the website, sorry. In the meantime, do we have any brief public comments from the room on agenda items? Mr. Warren.
Keeping with the theme of the day, I'll remove my Penn State mask. And I had a question about agenda item number 9. Could anyone tell me what the original, the original bid for fire protection for phase 2B and 3 was? Any rough idea?
Mr. Spencer isn't here.
We can get it.
Look at that. What I can tell you, Mr. Warren, is because one of the questions I asked when I got the agenda was why it was 2 different issues, why it was 2 different items. I didn't understand. It's the same vendor for the same systems, presumably. So why was it 2 different bids? It has to do with when they were putting in an upgraded sprinkler system as we were doing the renovations. There were different pipes that were not located anywhere on anybody's maps. One's coming in from, Broad Street, I guess, behind us. And so there had to be a lot of work done. That's the construction that went all the way down Mechanic Street. That's what this is, because it had to be completely, all that had to be done, which obviously was not part of the original bid process. And so that both of those had to do with separate issues dealing with working with the building that's 60 years old roughly, and pipes that are out in the street that obviously go back further than that, and not a whole lot of accurate mapping of where those pipes were.
We do have a number. Maureen, did you say?
The original bid for this contract was $1,140,000.
So if you couldn't
For
hear
the
that,
record, $1,140,000.
Thank you very much, and having a few pipes over 60 years old myself, I understand the need for replacement. My question, however, as kind of a follow-up, was, and I appreciate and understand your explanation, but on February 5th, the agenda had an item, approved contract increase for fire protection, phase 2B and 3 for East 54th Street for $99,000. On May 6th, the agenda item had approved contract increase for fire protection contract phase 2B, the exact wording, for $60,000. So with today's, it's roughly $250,000 in adjustments. I was just hoping that someone on the board, and I appreciate you, would find that excessive, and also wondering if any of that would have been known, would it have changed the bid from other contractors. But that is excessive.
Yeah. I know part of it.
Where's the engineer? Excuse me. Where's our engineer?
Right. No, it's a good question. Part of it I do know, and I don't know if Ms. Mctla has more. I do know part of it is that the work that was done behind the building, where am I? Behind the building, heading down Mechanic Street, did enough damage, required the road to be opened up. And so the road has to be resurfaced completely to the, which is different than just sort of the patchwork that's there now. And that, I think that's the added cost here, was I think originally it was going through and working on that pipe, and now it's about going back and having to resurface that. Because it's a borough requirement to resurface the road to the condition it was.
All right.
But I agree. I mean, it's definitely, it's one of the things that, when I was in Falls, I was very happy about the fact that we had engineers who are right on the money. So I'm keeping an eye out for that stuff.
25% here.
Yeah. No, you're right. It's a lot.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comment in the room? Is there any public comment that's been submitted online?
Yes, Commissioner. There are public comments received from 2 Bucks residents. Both of these purport to relate to agenda items. It's not particularly clear that these questions really relate to actual items on today's agenda. They seem to be a little more general and tied to the departments. So I would recommend we err on the side of caution, and I'll read these comments, but if it pleases the commissioners, one of these comments has 5 different topics. I will read all of these questions and then see if the board wishes to address any of them. The first comes from Chanel Bermudez of Feasterville Trevose in Lower Southampton Township. And this purports to relate to item 2, behavioral health, although she does not specify which particular agenda item. And the question is as follows: what is the timeline for a mental health court? Will there be any funding allocated for outpatient care before a mental health court is implemented? In the future, are there any plans to fund mobile crisis and engagement centers? Mental health care is severely underfunded and understaffed in Bucks County. Lower Bucks Hospital is the only crisis center for adults and adolescents in Bucks County. How can we combat this? Commissioners, the other public comment submission we received comes from Vincent Montoya in Bristol Township, and his public comment references item 4, which is corrections, and there are 8 different items on the agenda from corrections. There's no specific contract or item mentioned. He mentions items 6C, which does relate to the Bucks County Sheriff's Department, but is specific to the domestic relations section. He also mentions item 11, housing and community development, but doesn't specify either of the 2 items. And finally, he references item 24, which is the Commissioner's request to approve a resolution extending the disaster emergency declaration. So with that preface out of the way, here's Mr. Montoya's comment. Hello. Levittown Now reported that Bucks County Correctional has been fighting tooth and nail to keep its emergency preparedness plan for COVID secret. Assuming the case hasn't developed, they're still in the process of challenging a legal ruling requiring them to release the plans. My first question is what control over Bucks County Correctional the commissioners can exercise? How is that role different than that of the Prison Oversight Board? And what can you do to promote transparency? Do you have any information about COVID contraction and fatalities in Bucks Correctional? Are inmates routinely tested? On a related note, I know the commissioners fund the sheriff's office. Have the commissioners taken any steps to ensure the office is operating without prejudice? Would you be willing to require the sheriff to collect and report racial data on arrests, including individualized statistics, so officers of the department can see their own biases? Can the commissioners require the release of bail data by race and crime so we can see if bail is issued in a discriminatory fashion? Lastly, If the state government decides to halt the moratorium on evictions, can the commissioners unilaterally issue an extension? Thanks.
Thank you for reading those comments. I believe we received correspondence from those people about these exact questions, correct?
Yeah, I believe so. We got a letter last month, I believe it was, from a group from Lower Bucks County that were very interested in prison reform, mental health reform, and mental health court, as well as issues regarding homeless and one of the comment, I know Commissioner Marseglia has already had one meeting to talk about the mental health court with the across the street with the judges, with at least one of the judges, and we've had some discussions ongoing with that. We, in terms of the sheriff's office, sheriffs in Bucks do not make arrests. So in terms of gathering data from the sheriff's office, the sheriff's deputies don't do arrests, and so there wouldn't necessarily be, data to gather in that sense. I don't know in terms of what has to be reported to the FBI by local police departments, whether or not that has to be broken down, or if it's broken down by race and gender. I'm not sure of that. But I don't know if you want to comment on mental health aspects from the first question.
I mean, there was a lot of questions in this. We are trying to develop a mental health court. We do provide behavioral and mental health services in the county of Bucks, and you can call my office if you need a referral, or you know someone who does need a referral. We would tend to that. The mental health court requires a lot of pieces to get involved. The district attorney has to be involved, the public defender, the judge needs to be prepared. There has to be enough people that can serve as probation officers and caseworkers. So we are all working out those details now. There was no momentum for this until the past, 7 or 8 months, and now there's a lot of momentum. So I believe we will get this done. You asked some questions about the jail. I do not believe someone asked for our COVID emergency. I believe they asked for the jail's all emergency plan. And as you can imagine, I'm not sure where we are on release with that, but I'm not sure that you normally release the emergency plans for a jail to general. I think there's some protection in there. So I'd have to check with where we are with that on the right to know. There was an awful lot of other questions in there. I can't remember everything. We don't have any COVID in the jail now. I mean, there was a number of cases in the beginning, but
right. And one question, in fact, a lot of the cases, COVID positive inmates we had were people who were tested as they came into the prison and tested positive. And we did have some inmates within the prison who tested positive. There were tests administered to the staff and the inmates. And there were a lot of protections put in place to keep them as safe as we could. We had no fatalities in the prison in terms of inmates, so that was obviously a good thing. And we're proud of the work that they did to try and keep everybody safe down there.
anything else, Gene?
Just, when it comes to mental health issues, that's a disease that affects almost every family, whether here it's in Bucks County or across the state of Pennsylvania. And I think that mental health court is something that we're all working on. We all feel the need that we want to do it here in Bucks County, and it's going to happen. It's going to take a little time to put together, but boy, it is so important, not only for the person but for the family, to see their loved ones get help instead of being incarcerated. And whether it's before they get into trouble or even after they get into trouble, if it's mental health or drug or alcohol, people are much better off being in treatment than they are being incarcerated. And we can help them out, and we can do it economically instead of incarcerating them. So I'm a big proponent of the mental health court, and also a big proponent of getting people help and treatment before they go to jail. Because once they go to jail, there are going to be a lot more problems, and once they get out, then we got to take care of them and make sure they get the help and the medication they need. So it's much easier to put them in treatment before.
I did remember one of the questions, I think, was to understand what the Corrections Department fits in with the Commissioners. So yes, the Corrections Department does fall under the Commissioners, so we approve their budget, their contracts, but there is a prison board that was required, I think it's almost 20 years ago, by order of a judge. And there are specific people that the judge told us we needed to have on that prison board and that we need to meet monthly. Ironically, today is prison board, so we meet at 1 o'clock, and that's a public meeting, so you're welcome to attend at any time.
I mentioned one of the items they talked about they cited was the HEART program. Do you want to talk about what the HEART program is in case they don't know?
Yes, there is two specific drug and alcohol programs at the jail. One is called the HEART program. That's for the women, and the HOPE program is for the men. This is an intensive treatment program where the inmates live together and they basically do recovery and recovery issues 24 hours a day. And we've gotten great results from it. We've gotten great feedback from it. It would be nice if we could offer that to everyone in the jail. It's an expensive program and it takes a real commitment, but it does work. So any other public comment?
Yeah, Commissioners, there's one additional public comment. It actually concerns item 26, which is on the regular agenda with respect to the Tax Claim Bureau. Because we are operating under a governor-mandated restriction on no more than 25 people in the room, Michael Clark, Esquire, I believe, is prepared to address item 26 when we get to that point, and so he has agreed to step out of the room because we were otherwise over at 25. I recommend that we just read that comment when we get to item 26.
That sounds good. So we will have Mr. Clark come in and we'll all address that question as well as understand the issue overall. Anything else?
No, Commissioner.
Okay. Is there a motion for the consent agenda, which includes approval of the minutes of July 15th, 2020, as well as items number 1 through 22?
So moved.
Second.
Any questions from the board? Last questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Moving on to the regular agenda. We have number 23 with the Board of Elections. There is a contract for $37,200 with Clear Ballot for the approved purchase of 2 on-demand ballot printers needed due to COVID-19 pandemic. Also with Clear Ballot for $295,328, the purchase of 6 high-speed ballot scanners needed due to the COVID-19 pandemic. And with OPEX Corporation in Morristown approving the purchase of 4 rapid extraction desks for mail opening needed due to the COVID-19 pandemic for $135,150. And Gail Humphrey, our clerk, is here today to tell us what all these items are.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Good morning.
Good morning. How are you? So I would like to start with the ballot extractor. I think that's kind of the least obvious one. The ballot extractor is a piece of equipment that we recently learned about that Montgomery County was purchasing. And what it is it's a desk that's about 3.5 to 4 feet long that an individual will sit at, and another member of the Board of Election staff will bring ballots to them that have already been sorted through the ballot envelope sorter machine that the commissioners approved at our last commissioners meeting. And it will mill the top, our ballot sorting envelope sorting machine also mills, but this machine, in addition, it can mill it, but it has like a drum on it that will kind of push the ballot out of the envelope. And they're telling us that that will save 50% staff time. And in addition to the amount of staff time that we think it will save, we are also really excited to learn about this product because we believe it'll help have a smaller number of individuals actually touch the ballot, which I think will go a long way for chain of custody and giving people comfort about,
So basically it makes
security.
it wide open so that the person can just reach in and pull out the ballot.
Yep, and the person's just going to sit there. And then it has a bin on top once the ballot has been removed, and then another staffer will come and they'll pick up that stack and they'll take it over to the high-speed scanners, which is another thing that's on our agenda. So right now, Bucks County has 4 high-speed scanners. And we also learned that the surrounding counties have purchased a lot more. This will give us a total of 10. Montgomery County is going to have 15. And we are hoping, we're being conservative in how many that it can process. So Conservatively, if it processed 2,000 an hour times 10 machines, it's 20,000. We're looking at 10 hours, and we're hoping we'll be efficient. We'll keep moving. We won't have many breaks. And if we start early enough, hopefully, and the machine is processing at a faster rate, it'll help us report much more quickly than 4 machines would have. And what is our other one? Our on-demand printers are hopefully going to be put in one in Levittown and one in Quakertown. Currently, if a voter wants to come to the Doylestown office, they can request a ballot on demand, and then that ballot is printed. It's put in a privacy shield. It's given to the voter. They are allowed to fill it out. Then we put it in the same envelope that you would have used if it went through the mail. You sign it, the declaration on the outside, and then we secure it. The Department of State has been urging counties, especially the larger counties, to consider extending that service to other county facilities. And in Bucks, we are fortunate that we already have Levittown and Quakertown, and they are government offices that are already equipped, and they have sheriffs there. So we feel that this would actually be a really added service to voters. If they're concerned about the pandemic and they're concerned about voting in person, but they still want to be able to use that opportunity. If they're worried about the U.S. mail system, there's been a lot of that going on in the press right now, that we think actually our voters are really going to appreciate this service. So we're working with the Department of State and getting those up and running. And the ballot boxes will also, if we stay in green, be in Levittown, Doylestown, and Quakertown inside.
Terrific. Questions from the commissioners for our clerk?
No, thank you.
Thank you very much. That seems like all good purchases that will move things right along. Number 24, do the commissioners approve the resolution extending the declaration of disaster emergency of March 13th, 2020, relative to a pandemic outbreak through September 3rd, 2020. Questions on that from 25, under Human Resources, approve the increase of a medical contribution rate for non-union county and court employees of 0.25%. Questions on that? And the Tax Claim Bureau, this will be a contract with Rudolph Clark, and it will be for 5% of delinquent taxes. This resolution authorizes Tax Claim Bureau to collect delinquent taxes under the Real Estate Tax Sale Law and the Pennsylvania Municipal Claims and Tax Lien Act, to appoint an attorney for such collections and set related attorney fees at 1% of the total delinquent tax revenue collected under the Retzel and MCTLA. And we have Mr. Michael Clark, who is coming up here and will explain all of this to us. And then we also have a question from the public.
Mr. Clark, thank you for helping us out by stepping into the hallway during the earlier portion of the meeting. While you were out, we received a public comment, and the commissioners agreed it would make sense for you to speak to it during your presentation. The comment comes from Michael Brady of Ben Salem Township. His comment is as follows regarding item 26. Hello, commissioners. How much more will the average delinquent taxpayer pay more under the new Municipal Claim Act than they would under current collection laws? It looks like there will be liens filed on individuals which would impact their credit scores. It seems excessive for property taxes.
Under the proposed resolution, delinquent taxpayers will be paying 6% more than they would under the current system. The combination of using both acts together, the Real Estate Tax Sale Law and the Municipal Claims and Tax Law Act, allows for the assessment of fees and reasonable attorney's fees and reasonable costs, and it has been set at 6%. So whatever the amount of the delinquency would be 6% of that delinquency.
Okay. Can you kind of give us an overview of what the plan is?
I certainly can. Good morning. Thank you for letting me speak to you about this proposed resolution today. I'm Mike Clark. I'm the solicitor for the Tax Claim Bureau. I am also, for the past 9 years, have been the solicitor for the Montgomery County Tax Claim Bureau, where the same program was instituted about 8 years ago. This is what we commonly refer to as the hybrid method. We are combining two separate laws, the Real Estate Tax Sale Law and the Municipal Claim and Tax Law Act, to collect delinquent taxes in the county. By combining these two laws, it's a more efficient system. It's a more cost-effective system for the county in that the delinquent taxpayers are paying for the operation of the Tax Claim Bureau, and perhaps more importantly, especially in these uncertain economic times, it is going to return 100% of delinquent taxes back to the municipalities and the school districts. Previously, it had only returned 95% back because 5% was retained as is permitted by law by the county for the operation of the Tax Claim Bureau. Before I tell you a little bit more about the Act and how it works, this is not the first time that I've spoken about delinquent taxes, and because of that, I'm going to answer a question that hasn't been asked, but I am certain it is going to be asked. This program is not designed, nor does it operate, to take homes from people who are struggling, to take homes from people who may be elderly, who have fallen behind in their taxes. This program is designed to go after sort of those who are serially delinquent in their taxes. One of the things I'll talk about in a minute very briefly is the ability under MCTLA to use Act 93. And what Act 93 does, it allows us to go after property owners who may own 10 properties in the county and are delinquent on 7 and are now trying to sell one of the other 3. We're able to collect the taxes on the delinquent 7 because of Act 93. Under this program, there are payment plans that are available. Liens are placed on properties, but with the payment, if somebody is on a payment plan and somebody is maintaining that payment plan, we don't ever execute on the lien. The property is never moved to sale. And the county's interest is protected, and the school district and the township's interest is protected in the event that property is sold. So again, it's not a program that is going to be putting a lot of people who are struggling out of their homes. As the commissioners are aware, when people are delinquent on their property taxes to townships, school districts, or the county, those delinquent taxes are sent to the Tax Claim Bureau, and the Tax Claim Bureau is charged with collecting those delinquent taxes. Currently, the Tax Claim Bureau is using the Real Estate Tax Act, RETSL, and that provides for 95% goes back to the taxing authorities, and 5% remains with the county for the operation of the Tax Claim Bureau. By using this in combination with the MCTLA, which allows for the setting reasonable fees and allows for setting reasonable costs, the assessment on the delinquent will be 106%. So that will go to pay for the operation of the Tax Claim Bureau, and then 100% will be returned to the taxing authorities. There are several other advantages of using the MCTLA in addition to RETSL. One is, as I mentioned before, a lien will be filed on the property, so the taxing authority's interests will be protected. It's also, since the lien is filed, it makes it more easy for any potential purchaser of a property to discover that there is a lien, and therefore if they're going to buy the property, they know that there are delinquent taxes on that property, and it makes it it's easier for us to collect our money when a potential purchaser knows that this issue is arising. I also mentioned Act 93, and this is, again, where you sort of get into your serial delinquent property owners, those who may own multiple properties throughout the county. And what we have discovered in Montgomery County is there's almost sort of a little game that is played by some of these multiple property owners. and that is they become delinquent on a whole bunch of properties, and then once that property is exposed to sale, they go and pay off all the taxes on that one, and the other ones remain delinquent. But they keep a certain amount of their properties that aren't delinquent, where if they want to sell those, they were able to do that before Act 93. Now, with Act 93 and adopting this hybrid, they won't be able to do that. If they try to sell one of their properties, they need to become current on all of the other properties, because the Act 93 allows for the lien to be essentially against the property owner and not against the property. One of the other advantages, and again, in the tough economic times that we're heading into, it's going to be important for our townships and boroughs and school districts, is this allows delinquent properties to be moved to sale a little bit more quickly. And that has two benefits. One is obviously collecting the delinquent taxes when the property is sold, but perhaps more importantly, we're now getting these properties back on the tax rolls. Somebody who's coming to a sale and buying this is now going to be paying their taxes. And I think as a lot of our communities in Bucks County see, it's not just a matter for some of these properties not paying their taxes. Sometimes these become blighted properties. And whether it's in an entire area or whether it's just one property in a particular neighborhood or a particular area, when those properties are blighted and run down, it begins to affect the property values throughout the entire neighborhood. And this, again, gets these properties exposed for sale more quickly. Somebody who wants to own them, somebody who wants to fix them up, somebody that's going to get them back on the tax rolls. The program has worked very well in Montgomery County. I would recommend that the commissioners consider adopting it. As I said, I think it's one that is a benefit to the local municipalities and also a benefit to the county. And the people who should be subsidizing this program are not people who are paying their taxes on time. And that's how it has been in the past. The people who have been subsidizing the Tax Claim Bureau are those who are paying their taxes on time. This will make sure that those who are delinquent in their taxes are the ones who are responsible for subsidizing the Tax Claim Bureau.
Terrific. Questions?
Mike, thanks for being here today. And we've talked on the phone about this. I think you addressed my concern, and I think a lot of other people's concern at the beginning, but I just want to be really crystal clear before we vote on this. And my concern would be a senior couple who has lived in their home for an awful long time, and they get into some kind of financial situation, whether it be one of them was working and there's a health concern, or something happened, one of them died, and they're struggling to pay their taxes. And possibly they set up a payment plan with the county to try to continue to live there in their home and pay their taxes. What is the difference between what that couple or person is facing now in Bucks County? What would be the difference once we enact this?
In many ways, Commissioner, there wouldn't be a difference. They would still be at the same, they would still have to address the same issues with Tax Claim Bureau with respect to paying the delinquent taxes. The one difference is, as I mentioned, the lien is placed on the property, so that protects the taxing authorities. But I also, the fact that we're able to move properties to sale more quickly could potentially expose their property to a sale more quickly if they are not maintaining their payment plan. But one of the things that Montgomery County has done, and I see that the treasurer is here, and I know that the treasurer in Montgomery County has done this, is making sure that there are certain services that are available to those individuals who are having problems paying their taxes, making sure that there are certain counseling services and other things that are available to let people know what they can do in lieu of having their property sold at a tax sale or an upset sale or a judicial sale. But essentially, they're still responsible to pay their taxes under Retzel. This, under MCTLA, allows us to go after some of the serial delinquent property owners. We've always had the ability to go after the individual property owners.
If I can say this right, people who are presently on a payment plan with the county, are they going to continue to stay on that payment plan the way it is now?
Yes.
Or would they fall into the new law?
No, they will stay on the payment plan.
So once we pass this, it will only be people who are,
It'll only be moving forward.
okay.
Correct.
Okay.
Or any new delinquencies, correct.
Okay, so they will have that explained to them, and as you say, that they will be informed of everything that's available to them to help them out, and that will all be clearly explained to them when this new law goes into effect.
Yes, if the commissioners were to pass this today, we will work very hard over the next 4 or 5 months, working with tax claim, working with the treasurer's office, and developing all of the notices that are required under the MCTLA, and all of the notices that are required under Retzel that go out to the property owners. Mm-hmm. All of these notices that will go out, and there are multiple notices, speak to the issue of payment plans, speak to the issue of what's going to happen if you don't pay your taxes. And as I've indicated, there are programs available to help people who are struggling to make their taxes because of the situations that you've just described.
Both of these were state laws that were passed?
Correct.
And they were optional for the counties to use or not use?
So forever and ever, everybody just used Retzel. And then in 2006, and I apologize if I'm blanking on the county that did it first, but a county decided to do it first, and the case is called land title. It's the case I've read 100 times. But it allowed for both of these laws to be used in concert in order to collect delinquent taxes. And one of the problems, and it is not present here in Bucks County where the Tax Claim Bureau does a good job, is that in some counties where tax claim was not necessarily doing a good job, many municipalities and school districts were going to third-party collectors. And those third-party collectors were going out and collecting the delinquent taxes. Now, they were running up significant fees when they were doing it, but the counties then stopped, some municipalities stopped paying the 5% back to the county, and that's when some counties decided they needed to do something different to do a better job in collecting these delinquent taxes, and that's when they kept the first county combined the Retzel and MCTLA.
Okay. Thank you, Madam Chairman. Thank you, Mike.
Questions?
Yeah, so, Mr. Clark, you said this is a program that's been in place in Montgomery County since 2000, no, what'd you say, 8 years it's been in place? 8 years.
I think we're in our 9th year now.
9th year, okay. And it was your firm that brought it into Montgomery County, or?
We were involved initially when it was brought in from day one. I would like to tell you that we were the ones who had the idea, but we did not. It was someone else who had the idea. The treasurer, working with another company, developed the program.
Okay. And so in the 8+ years it's been in place in Montgomery County, how common is it that we have a situation like the one, because that's the obvious one that everyone's thinking of course, is you know, the widow who's now trying to, you know, survive on Social Security and property taxes being what they are here in Bucks, especially in certain townships where, you know, it's more expensive in boroughs too. You know, the young family that's, you know, somebody lost their job and now it's, you know, they're in trouble. How often is that the situation in Montgomery County where, you know, something kicks in and someone loses their property?
So in the 9 years that I've been involved in it, I also, for the last 5 years, I am the person who conducts the quarterly auctions where the properties are sold. My experience just from those auctions is that the majority of properties that we are selling are either abandoned properties, vacant ground, or very often it's commercial property, and the residential that we're selling very often is vacant or abandoned, and taxes haven't been paid in years, and they've fallen into disrepair. My experience has been that we have not seen the situation that you're describing. I cannot recall a time in the last 9 years when it has ever been brought to my attention that we are selling a house out from underneath an elderly couple who have had problems, or a family who has lost their job and had medical problems or increased bills. I can't stand here and tell you it's never happened, but it's never been brought to my attention in the 9 years that I've been doing it. And I would respectfully submit that if this were happening on a regular basis, I think I would know of it, and I think many other people would be aware of it, but it's just not happening. There are a couple of municipalities in Montgomery County where every time we go to sell these properties, Norristown and Pottstown being the one, I'm familiar with those communities. I do a lot of work in Norristown. And when I know that these properties that are being sold, again, it's properties that are vacant and abandoned, and somebody's looking to buy up, 3 homes in a row and try to convert them into something that's going to help revitalize the neighborhood and put them back on the tax rolls.
That was kind of my next question. You kind of led me into. So in areas, I guess, especially in boroughs, have you seen this been helpful to boroughs that are trying to revitalize, where now properties that had been eyesores, have been vacant, that have just been nuisance properties are now getting sold faster, renovated, et cetera?
We have, because what we see is that by doing this method, it allows someone who is interested in possibly buying up multiple properties on a block, or getting both sides of a twin. It has allowed them to take possession of these properties and fix them up, get them back on the market for sale. The majority of the people who are buying the properties in Montgomery County are those whose intent is to rehab them, get them back on the market, and then sell them. But I will point out one other thing that wasn't part of your question, but about something else that I've seen is, in addition to some of the other work I do, I also represent the Norristown Area School District, and our business manager just absolutely loves this program. The amount of money that it has put back into their bank account over the last 7 or 8 years has been significant. And with a district like Norristown, which has some certain financial challenges, it's been a real asset for them.
Okay. Well, thank you.
Any other questions from the board? Thank you. Thank you. You're good.
Thank you.
Put your mask on.
And then on number 27, the Workforce and Economic Development. With Visit Bucks County, we are approving the allocation of a COVID-19 stimulus funds to help increase and revive local tourism, support local businesses, and attract external business to the county. This will be subject to final approval by our solicitor, but it is in the amount of $3,726,716. And is anybody here from? It's hard to see people with masks on. So anybody here from Visit Bucks? Hi. Did you want to come up? Sure. So I always say Paul's name wrong, but Benavango, am I saying? Ben Savango, right? We're going to all practice that.
Yes.
Thank you for being here today, and I know this is a difficult time if you're in charge of tourism.
Yes. So we really want to thank the commissioners for their support. I'm here on behalf of the hospitality industry. The hospitality jobs in Bucks County, there's 28,000 of them. The economic impact of hospitality spending is more than $1 billion. And along with many industries, hospitality is just getting crushed. And we're looking to use these dollars to be responsible marketers, to keep the dollars more regional within Pennsylvania, to stimulate staycations, and to get people to do safe activities, promote social distancing, mask wearing. When you can go to the Mercer, to the Mctla, you can do outdoor dining. To promote these types of activities, to help again move the economy along in a safe manner. So we appreciate Commissioner support. Christian, the Treasurer's Office, has been great. Margie, and we work with lots of offices in the county, and we can't thank you enough for your help. And we encourage everybody, if you can, the locals, to get out there, go visit one of those establishments. So many local employees have been furloughed from restaurants. Again, the Mercer and the Mctla just opened a few weeks ago. There's other places like the Children's Museum that they're not able to do social distancing in their space, and they have chosen not to open. But when the time is right, we'll use these marketing dollars to promote, again, when we kind of open up and can get moving to some of those types of activities, we'll encourage people to visit those places. I have personally been to Sesame Place recently. You have to wear a mask when you go there. There's other places like parks, and all the attractions are doing everything they can to keep their visitors and their staff safe, again, while moving the economy forward.
Well, please tell them all thank you for that. We know that our numbers have maintained a low COVID amount, and even though things are starting to open up, so they're doing the right thing, and we really appreciate the fact that they're being so careful.
Thank you very much.
Any other questions?
Could you, if you don't mind, just give a brief, kind of overview, $3.7 million, what exactly is that what's that going to be used for the next, 7-8 months?
Yeah, so it's a different mix of media. All of it, again, will be focused more regionally within Pennsylvania and the Philadelphia area. Television, digital, billboards, and outdoor are kind of the mix of media that we'll use. It will be used to, again, promote restaurants, staycations, so, a bed and breakfast, outdoor activities, all those things that you can enjoy in Bucks County. And we will be also including other messages related to commerce and other industries. So working with some of the other economic development agencies, chambers of commerce, on what are the key messages related to finance or banking, agriculture, what are some of those other industries that we can help promote through our channels, being one of the lead marketers for the county.
Diane? Sure. You done, Bob? I'm sorry.
I'm done, thank you.
Paul, do you have to use all this money in 2020, or can you use some of it if you don't use it all in the 2021?
That's a great one. Do you want to take that one?
Yeah, I think we talked about this a little bit with our COO, Marge McKevett, as well. The guidance that we've gotten, and we asked for a little clarification from Senator Casey's office, was that with any of the CARES money, if the money is encumbered before December 30th, that's what matters. Doesn't matter if every dollar isn't spent by December 30th. So I think by voting on this today, we've essentially, it's gone, and it's going to sort of an outside agency, so how they use it.
Yeah, that's important too,
Yeah.
because
Yeah, so and we've talked about the timelines may need to be revised when it's actually spent, depending upon as we move through the pandemic, and something we may have targeted to market in winter, we may want to just hold off till the spring to do, again, as things start to reopen down the road.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, so is there a motion to approve numbers 23 through 27 on the regular agenda?
I'll make the motion.
Is there a
Madam Chair.
second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Moving on to the budget adjustments. We have a first budget adjustment is for $7 million. It's budget adjustment 74 for self-insurance. And we have two other ones, number 6 and number 7. Number 6 is $75,000 Insurance, this is, I guess it's revenue to the general fund. Go ahead. You can explain the other one, which is 7 as well, which is a liquid fuels, 250,000. 500.
The first one is for 2019. It's to properly set up the reserve for the Taha settlement that was approved earlier by the board. Adjustment number 6 and 7 are from 2020. There was additional, the premium for the property insurance is the primary cause for this budget adjustment. It was higher than what was budgeted in the insurance cost center, and that's offset with a reduction. It's not revenue, it's a reduction in the budget that's recorded in the general fund. And the liquid fuels refers to the bridge that New Britain Township is completing, item 9E. The total cost of the bridge for the county will be $250,500, and this will properly allocate the Act 44 state revenue that we receive annually to cover the cost of that bridge and allow us to reimburse New Britain Township for that bridge repair.
Thank you.
Neither of the 2021 has any impact on the general fund.
Terrific. Questions on any of the budget adjustments?
Thank you.
Is there a motion to approve budget adjustment 74, 6, and 7?
So moved.
Second? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. On to personnel actions. Is there a motion to approve the personnel actions for today?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any questions from the board? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Board appointments for today. Does anyone have any board appointments?
We do, Madam Chair, a couple of appointments. A couple of new appointments and a few reappointments. To the Bucks County Community College Board of Trustees. It's my pleasure to place the name of Abu Huda as the appointment. His term will end 6/30/2026. Mr. Huda is a resident of Central Bucks, very, very active in his community, businessman, and is highly recommended by the actual president of Delaware Valley College or University, Delaware Valley University, for this position.
Do you want to do that in a form of a motion specific to the college?
Sure, I can do that. Make a motion to appoint Abu Huda to the Bucks County Board of Trustees for a term ending 6/30/2026.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay.
For the Human Relations Council, we have 2 reappointments. These are 3-year terms, Celia Sharp and Chris Ballerini. The term will end 8/1/2023. The Opportunity Council, a new appointment, Jacob Iampietro. It's a 3-year term ending, filling in actually for someone. That term is going to, actually it's not a 3-year term. It normally is a 3-year term. It's going to end on the 31st of this year, December 31st, filling in for Toby Buron, who has resigned. The Redevelopment Authority, a 5-year term, Ralph T. Zeppi, Bristol Borough Council President. That's a new appointment. That term will end 7/17/2025.
Okay,
I'll make
is
a
there a
motion
second for those appointments?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay.
Okay, that's all I have.
Thank you very much. The Chief Operating Officer's report. Wait, you know what? I skipped other civics. Are there any other civics today? That was because I didn't have any.
I do not. No.
Okay. All right, go ahead. Thank you.
Okay,
Marjorie
all right.
McKevitt.
Thank you, Commissioner. I just have a couple of updates real quickly, and then I'm going to ask Gail to join me in talking about Board of Elections. So the administration building. So we all know we've been under renovation for quite some time. We are rounding out the renovations and then gearing up for some modifications to Board of Elections. Our largest tenant has moved in over the weekend, our children and youth folks, about 240 staff members. They are comfortably on the 4th floor on both sides of the building. A big thank you to General Services, Kevin Spencer, Stephen Braun, Mike Duncan, and their entire staff for facilitating everything from managing the renovation project to moving the folks in to their new space. It just wouldn't have happened without all of their hard work and their tireless efforts. And then, of course, our IT folks who I will say have worked day and night to keep us all connected. putting laptops and monitors and making sure everything is working. We can't forget them, and please make sure they know that we appreciate all their efforts. So, Board of Elections, because of COVID, we've had to make modifications to their department in terms of space, which meant that we had to move Guardian ad litem, which was on the 2nd floor, to the 7th floor. And we are going to fill that entire space with our new equipment for the Board of Elections staff. And Gail, if you want to talk a little bit about that, and also talk about the need for new staff and poll workers, and the upcoming poll workers training sessions that we're having throughout the county outside at night.
Sure. Okay. Thank you. And I also want to thank the IT department, General Services, Margie, the purchasing department, the finance department. And I've said this before in an internal meeting, but I'm really glad that you actually gave me this opportunity to say it publicly. This is the greatest team I've ever worked for and with. I've worked in government for 25 years, and the team at Bucks County is beyond exceptional. And whenever you ask for help, security, they just come running and chip in immediately. Our row officers, this is an honor to work with all of you. So thank you so much for all of you. The Board of Elections, as Margie said, has to grow almost double in size overnight. And it's taken everyone in the county to help us do that. The machine that the commissioners purchased, approved for us to purchase at the last meeting that Margie's talking about, is 40 feet long by 10 feet wide. It needs 5 feet around it to maneuver around it. It has 72 bins that are going to help us to sort the mail-in ballots in their envelopes as they come into the Board of Elections. And then we're going to store them on movable racks. So that when we are able to finally start counting, hopefully we will be much better organized and be able to keep the ballots in the precinct order and then report by precinct much more quickly than we did in the primary. It was historic change in law in Pennsylvania back to back. First it was Act 77 and then it was Act 12 that dramatically changed the way voters vote in Pennsylvania. And not only Bucks County, but all 67 counties had to work on the fly to pivot and adjust and be compliant with the law and to make sure that every voter had the opportunity to vote. And it was yeoman's work. And there was a lot of human interaction. The DAs came and helped us on the day of the election. There was an army of them. The machine that we bought today, the Ballot Extractor, and will do what they did that day. So now hopefully we'll have 4 people doing that instead of, I don't know, he gave us 8. And then there were several other people doing it that day. So the Board of Election is also going to hire 10, what we're calling Ballot Clerks, that will hopefully begin working as early as next week. And we'll keep them until after the election to help us process all of this paper. And to help us right now begin processing the ballot applications. There is a large queue sitting in the state SURE system right now that needs to be processed by hand by Bucks County employees, and that's just how it works in every county. They have to use that Department of State equipment in order to process the applications. We're also bringing in more SURE equipment, 20 more terminals from the Department of State that are going to be retrofitted. Again, our IT department's going to help us, and General Services are going to help us to put more of those terminals up and running in this building. Our row officers are all helping us, allowing their staff to come and work overtime so that we have 2 shifts. During the primary, we went up to 3 shifts processing applications. Hopefully now that we're starting earlier, we'll only be able to stick with 2 shifts, and hopefully we'll be able to get ahead of it. And we are also looking at hiring more permanent Board of Election staff because we do not foresee the law changing again so quickly as to, maybe switching away from mail ballots and going back to another type of voting system. So we just needed to increase the amount of people that work there permanently.
Do you want to talk about poll workers?
I'm sorry, poll workers, yes, I apologize. Because of COVID, and during the primary, we had a very hard time training poll workers because our building was closed, and the normal facilities we used were closed. We were in red. Now that we are in green, but we're looking to the future and trying to prepare in case we were to go back to yellow or unfortunately red, and hopefully everyone's fingers crossed, everyone wears their mask, that doesn't happen. We are doing our public poll worker trainings outdoors. And they are beginning in August. The first one, I think, is August 24th in Falls Township. And we're going to have them in Doylestown, in Quakertown, and in Bensalem as well. Our IT department was immensely helpful with that. We're going to use a projector. And our director, Tom Freitag, the director of the Board of Elections, is going to give a PowerPoint plus do in-person individual instruction. And they're posted on the county website and the Board of Election website. And they are for poll workers only, those trainings.
Right. So if anyone out there is interested in working at the polls, please call and contact the Board of Elections folks. Their telephone number is 215-348-6154, and they will greatly accept your volunteerism. And you do get paid for the day. The last thing I'd like to speak about is the Household Hazardous Waste Program. We had our first Household Hazardous Waste Collection event for the year. We had about 1,068 vehicles or residents attend the Bucks County Technical High School. All precautionary measures were taken to manage a contactless drop-off. Pre-registration was required, and we're hoping the Planning Commission is working on the next event, working with DEP, Pennsylvania Department of Environmental Protection, to get further events approved so that we don't have a backup as we did for this one. So stay tuned for the dates and times and locations of future events.
Terrific, thank you. And the solicitor's report?
Thank you, Commissioner. We'll keep this brief. I know we have a meeting after this one. So just two items. There was a public comment about what this administration is doing with respect to landlord-tenant issues, and we want everyone to be aware, especially in light of the fact that at the moment, the COVID-19 eviction moratorium is set to expire at the end of this month. Our Consumer Protection Department has been a tremendous resource for the community and for individuals, whether they are tenants or landlords. We encourage everyone to reach out. The department has been working very hard, fielding phone calls and emails, letting people know their rights, the remedies, in some cases, trying to provide some sort of informal mediation to help people solve problems. So we really do encourage everyone, and we want to spread the message that the commissioners have been very good about supporting this department, which is doing great work for the community, which is very valued at this time. Finally, I'll just preview, and I thank the commissioners for approving the appointments today. We are happy to be hiring our first full-time assistant solicitors in the law department, Amy Fitzpatrick and Alison Soldano, who are both very dedicated, very well-respected members and attorneys in Bucks County. Mr. Soldano is actually a rehire, and we thank our district attorney who's in the room, Mr. Weintraub, for his strong recommendation of Austin, who worked in the district attorney's office prior to his return to the county. We look forward to having them both take the oath of office at our next commissioner meeting, which will be administered by a Court of Common Pleas judge here in Bucks. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner comments. Commissioner Harvey.
Yeah, thank you. I just want to go back a little bit to the hybrid program we voted on. I think it's a great idea. It's something we had talked about, several months ago, and obviously COVID was sort of interrupting it. It's one of the changes we think that needed to be made here in the county. Looking over our clerk of courts and the program that he started in his office to kind of bring in the kind of revenue that should be coming in from court costs that were never collected, and developing a method that we're really just copying it off of a neighboring county and using it, and it's already starting to pay off dividends, and this is something similar. Certainly there are people who, for reasons outside of their own control, fall into financial difficulties where they can't pay the bills they need to pay. They can't afford to pay the property taxes sometimes. And certainly we're going to continue working with them to help them as we have as a county in the past. But there are definitely people who game the system. There are definitely people who work this system so that they can avoid paying those taxes. And let's keep in mind that we can talk about taxes as just some dirty word that nobody likes to really think about that much. But let's keep in mind that it's taxes that pay salaries for police officers. It's taxes that pay for the staff here. We had questions earlier about mental health court, about helping people who are suffering from mental health crises, from drug and alcohol problems, helping people who are homeless, people who are suffering from all kinds of difficulties and trying to do their best and looking for help. 2/3 of the budget of this county is focused on social services. And so for those people who aren't paying their taxes, aren't paying it to school districts, aren't paying it to their townships, aren't supporting, and that money that goes to help firefighters and help EMTs, money that goes to help pave the roads, money that goes to help attract businesses and do safety inspections and health inspections. Everybody else has to pick up the slack. And so we should be going after those people who are probably able to pay their taxes, but just to figure out a way to play the system so they don't necessarily have to if they don't want to. And that has to stop, because it's hurting the rest of us. The overwhelming majority of the people who are able to pay their taxes and do it because they know it's no one necessarily likes paying them, but they know it's going to something worthwhile and they know it's helping as a community. So I think it's important that we do that. I know that we are also to sort of facilitate this, working a little better, working with the Treasurer's Office and working with the COO. Tax claim has been sort of a separate little agency by itself. So we're going to be moving it underneath into the Treasurer's Office so that we can really kind of have all those things in one place. I know it's done that way in other counties. It does make sense, certainly, for the Treasurer is the one where the money sort of is coming in. Tax claim, obviously, their job is to bring that money in. So that's something that we're going to be doing as well. And then finally, just switching gears completely. Last week, of course, we had a horrendous storm that cut across the county and other parts of the eastern seaboard. And I know being here in this building, which was built, we look at some of the photographs that are in the rotunda here, and we're going to joke about the fact that you can tell this building was built at the height of the Cold War because it was sort of built like a bunker. This room we're in now could probably withstand a nuclear blast just based on its structure. And the storm, you could tell, was rattling some windows, and you say, boy, it's really storming heavy outside. And then just a mile from here, mile and a half from here, an EF2 tornado touched down and whipped across part of Doylestown, took a set of bleachers at the CB West football field and moved them from the sideline to the 50-yard line, and also came down right on top of a daycare center with 130 students and 70 staff members. It is a pretty miraculous thing that there were no serious injuries, some bumps and bruises, some scared children. It has, I think, everything to do with the staff who were there. I know Terry Windish, who is the director of Children's Village, I had a chance to meet with her and some of her staff a couple days afterwards, and they were still very, very shaken up. But I know there's a kindergarten teacher in particular, if you take a look at any of the photographs of the damage to that building, some of the worst damage is the kindergarten classroom. And there was no warning for this tornado. There was not a siren that went off. There was an alert earlier in the day, hours before, but by that point it was over. And the staff themselves saw what was happening and put themselves in between harm and the children who they were teaching and protecting. And that's true of the kindergarten teacher there. We tried to get her name, and I was hoping to sort of just highlight her, but I know there are people out there who know she is, and I'm sure she's, if she hasn't gotten the attention, I'm sure she will soon, that she deserves, and the others as well. Everybody just reacted really heroically, trying to do what they could to shield their children, moving them into isolated areas, putting them in the closets, and doing everything they could. So a special thank you in this year of 2020, which I know many of us can't wait for it to end. It's good highlighting some of the positivity here and the actions of people who care for others and do it every day. So that's all I wanted to say. Thank you.
Thank you. And I would just add to that it was great to see the entire county start to work together, not just our emergency management, but the local fire department, police department, and Central Bucks sent buses. Central Bucks School District sent buses right over. So everybody did what they needed to do. Commissioner comments?
Just a couple quick comments. And I know we heard about the elections first. I know we heard a lot from Gail Humphrey already about what we're going to do. There were some items on the agenda of equipment we're buying, trying to make sure. I just want to let everybody know that we are determined and committed to make this election in November go off as smoothly, as safely, and as secure as possible. Whether you're going to vote at the polls or whether you're going to do a mail-in or absentee ballot. We are committed to making it sure that it's safe and secure for everybody to vote and as easy as possible. We're buying new equipment. It's going to help us out. The one change that we need, and we've stated our case up in Harrisburg, the one change to the law that we need that would be most important would be to allow not only Bucks County, but the rest of the counties in the state to open the envelopes and remove the ballots before Election Day. And as much time as we had to do that would be terrific, but even if it's only a day or two, that would be so important because that's where it's time consuming to open the two envelopes and remove the ballot. If we had that done and stored in a safe and secure place, if we had that done before Election Day and then started scanning the ballots at 7 o'clock on Election Day without tabulating or counting them, I think we would be in a good position here in Bucks County to be able to come up on election night with the vote total and declare who the winners are in the county elections and also, where the count is for Bucks County on the state level. That would be one important change we need, but it's got to be done up in Harrisburg. So hopefully they will take that up. In August, I think we would need to do it. They would need to do it in August. So we made our case. We stated our case up in Harrisburg. So hopefully that'll happen. And just real quickly, I just want to add my applause to everybody that was involved in the hospital daycare situation the day of the tornado. They are real, the staff of that daycare center, and I'm sure other people, they are, in my mind, really heroes because they put themselves at risk to save the children who were in that daycare. And I think it was 130 some or 135, Bob, I think it was, children. I know we have an employee that works in a tax claim where Joe, I forgot.
Separulo.
Yes, and his wife was the administrator or the manager there at the daycare center and played a really, really heroic part in making sure those children were removed from the daycare center into safety at the hospital. I don't think there was one injury at all. So those people that were involved in that are really heroes, and we should recognize and applaud them. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any public comments? Any public comments, Mr. Warren?
Just real quick. Could have done it back there, one of them. One, have you all made a determination about charging fees for the parking garage was one question. And two, as a follow-up, and I mean this sincerely, not sarcastically or playing games, will there be doubling the size of the Board of Registration Department? Will there be any kind of vetting? I know there's majority poll watchers, minority poll watchers. And it would seem to me that the board and the department could shortcut a potential concerns if there were, while remaining politically neutral, there were an effort to at least have not 100% Democrat employees, not 100% Republican employees, that this, all of a sudden like that, to double a department in this particular sensitive time. And Gene, I commend you, but watch it, brother, because if this goes bad, you're the only one so far who said, we're doing everything to do it right. We're gonna point to you.
We'll be right there with you, Gene.
But anyway, that's my concern, a serious concern, that with what could go, we don't want to have Patterson or that New York district. Anyway, just a word of caution, and hopefully some constructive thank you. And are we charging people car fraud?
Not till mid-September.
Yeah, September. We had some software issues with
Will there be public discussion about that?
That was determined by the previous board, the previous
Those
board of
wackos,
commissioners.
anyway, we voted them out. That's why that's not good. No, we can't do that. Well, there's no discussion about that?
Well,
I don't want to delay this any longer, but hopefully there'll be some, I know there'll be some discussion about that.
thank you.
Thank you.
Is there any other public comment in the room? Mr. District Attorney?
I got a text from Maggie Rash, who was the president of Cato, I think. I had given them a report a while ago when I had gotten a great report about Bucks County census numbers. We were #1 in the state. She just coincidentally asked me for an update. We have an update. Are we still #1? And how are we doing?
Yeah, I think it's sort of middle of the month is when they usually give announcements. It seems like every second, third week of the month, the Census Department puts out some kind of blast. But as far as I know, we're still #1 in the state in terms of self-reporting.
That'll come out maybe in a couple of days.
Could possibly,
I'll
yeah.
send you a link. I'll send you a link.
Yep.
Thank you. Is there any online comment?
No, Commissioner, we're only doing in person.
Oh, that's right.
The all items.
So that's it? Nobody else here? Okay. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second? All in favor?
All right.
All right, approved. We'll see you September 2nd. Is there a motion to approve the minutes of the July 1st, 2020 meeting?
So moved. Second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That's approved. Approval of salary board actions. If anybody has anything they have to do, let me know, but we were going to start with the district attorney. Do you want to come on up and join us?
Thank you, Chairwoman Marseglia. I have one proposed action for salary board. Matt Weintraub, Bucks County DA, for the record. I have recently gave out some raises to my staff, and they were all approved as being within budget. There was one raise that I was not able to give but was earned, and that is by my assistant office manager, who worked all through COVID, kept the trains running on time. I believe we were under budget during the COVID crisis, which still goes on. And in fairness and out of equity, what I am asking for is that her cap be increased. I did talk with Controller Doherty, who asked me a good question. He said the cap actually is being, the requested increase is greater than the amount of the raise that I wish to give. And that is, quite candidly, so I don't have to keep coming back here if she earns another raise, this particular person. But the raise that I did put in for is a total of $2,000 for the year. She's recently been named the assistant office manager within the past year. She's done an incredible job for me. So when the time is appropriate, after I answer your questions, I would like to make that motion.
And you'll be making that motion, though, for the, not for a person, but for a position.
Yes, I'm sorry, yes.
That's all right.
It's for the assistant office manager position, and it essentially encompasses items 1 and 2.
Okay. Questions from?
I do have a question. In the submission to the board, you said that there's more responsibilities and more duties. How has the position changed?
I can answer that with one word: COVID. Okay. The position, whoever could have known, nobody could have foreseen it. But because of COVID, many people were working from home. She was the person in this position, was asked to come in an extraordinary amount of time to try to coordinate, re-coordinate, adapt, readapt to issues that not only we went through while we were on a skeleton crew, but that continued to this day. She is responsible for the day-to-day management of our support staff. Mainly, we're currently in the middle of trying to either digitize or eliminate some of our old files. She is one of the principals responsible for that as well.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
If there are no other questions, I will make a motion that this position, Assistant Office Manager, DA, be increased, the cap be increased from $26.96 an hour to $30.29 an hour, with the understanding that I had only put in for a $2,000 raise, which does not go close to that cap, but will allow me to give her some consideration in the future.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any questions for board or anything? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Have a good day, everybody.
I'm trying to keep some expediency here for people and other things. Can we do the public defender next? How are you?
Thank you. I'm glad this is my first time doing this, so I'm glad I got a chance to see him do it first.
Make sure you use the microphone, so.
Use the microphone?
Yep.
You can sit too if you want.
Sit. Yeah,
That's
you
fine.
don't. Yeah.
I greatly appreciate the opportunity to be here. The raises that I'm requesting are all within budget. What I was able to do when I made a recent round of promotions is that I saved approximately $18,000. So all of the money for the 3 different promotions or the changes that I'm asking for salary is all within budget at this time. The first one that I would like to start with are the requests to change 2 of our legal secretaries. I'm asking that they be that their positions be changed from legal secretary 2 to legal secretary 3. The difference between those 2 positions, according to our office description, is advanced departmental knowledge, and both of these women display that or embody that quality. One has been here for 34 years, one has been here for 28 years. But I'm not asking for this change based on loyalty and longevity alone. Both of them are extremely attentive to detail. They help their colleagues whenever it's necessary. They make our office function as well as it does. We have in the Public Defender's Office 6 legal secretaries to compare, and another legal department, the District Attorney's Office, they have 36. These women are they work very, very hard. During the COVID crisis, they would come in on days when they were not scheduled just to make sure that their particular task was done appropriately. It is, in my humble opinion, I think that this change is long overdue. There are legal secretaries in the DA's office who have achieved this status having worked there for 19 years. So I respectfully request that these changes for these 2 women be made. It results in approximately a $4,000 raise for each of them. Are there any questions with regard to?
Any questions? Okay, do you have another one too? Did you want to do paralegal?
I do. And the next one is regarding our prison paralegal position, and there is a mistake on the salary board action form, which I would like to explain to you. Our office has 2 paralegal positions, one at the jail, one at the office. We call the office one, the one at the main office, an administrative assistant. That person earns $46,800 approximately. But both of them perform essential paralegal functions, but in different settings. For some reason, however, that is unclear to me, or was made, and I still don't understand it, the person who is at the jail earns approximately $4,000 less than the person who works at a courthouse office. What makes this disparity particularly egregious, in my opinion, is that the person who works at the jail has worked for the county for 18 years. The person who works at our courthouse office has worked there for 8 months.
That's why we have salary board to fix things.
And I have to say, when I first started this job 8 months ago, certain people get in your ear and say, "Oh, these changes should be made." These are changes that I found, that I felt merited, immediately, coming to the front of the line. The person at the prison office basically finds the people that we need, as lawyers, need to talk to, gets us the information we need, and allow us to do this. During the COVID crisis, the prison did not want a bunch of attorneys traipsing in and out of the jail. This person went in very fearlessly every day and was the conduit for us having contact with them. So the request I have for this person is I'm requesting approximately a $5,000 raise. There is a mistake on our salary board form. Part of the money that I'm requesting for the prison paralegal is through salary cap. There's about $1,400 that is unused salary cap. The remainder I'm asking as a raise. The form that we have the form that you have in front of you says that the amount that I'm requesting per hour is $22.42. That should be amended. I'm making a motion to amend that to $22.89, which will result in approximately a $4,900 raise. That will bring parity between those 2 positions. The person at the prison will earn a little bit more than the paralegal at the courthouse office, but I think the longevity merits that.
Are there questions on that either? Is there a motion from the salary board to?
I'll make the motion
there-
for changes 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, and 31.
With the correction to
With
2289?
the correction to number 27, 2289.
27.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, thank you. Is IT here?
Painless.
Who's doing IT? Nobody? Okay. Boy, now I'm going to make you go back after you do IT.
Where are we moving? What are we moving on?
I was doing IT, I was just going to do just that department, just to try, because it was one, but you're going to do a bunch of them? You have a bunch of different departments you're covering?
I sure do.
Okay, we'll just, since you're here, we'll just do you.
So here, I'll
Okay.
just do all the ones that I want. Okay, all right. So number one is a move from IT for the Director of Training and Outreach. This is Randy Miller's position that's currently in IT, and we're moving it from IT to the commissioners and adding responsibilities in terms of the outreach to inside our county government and outside our county government to our municipalities. He will also help with our diversity, chief diversity officer, in helping to train folks inside.
So I can't find the ad.
So it's connected.
The add is number 1, the
So
delete is
1 and
25.
20 Yeah, 1 and 25 are connected.
Oh, okay, so that's why I'm, got it, there's the delete. What's everyone's preference, to do these one at a time or do them in a group?
Do them with the group, I guess.
Do them in a group? Okay, go ahead, next one.
So that's 1 and 25. And then the next one is the intern, number 2, for the commissioners. We do not have a position for an intern in the commissioners, and we'd like to add one to help with our chief clerk and our director of policy and projects.
Okay.
And then, okay.
Any questions on that one? Okay, go ahead.
And then for number 35, 36, and 37. Housing and Community Development, we are deleting the position of project administrator, and we are requesting a change from the intake coordinator to change to project administrator for lead. So the reason for this change is originally when we received this grant, we anticipated to have the work done by a project administrator in-house with a second position, intake coordinator. We have since, because of COVID, realized that it'd be better if this were contracted out. So we are eliminating a position and having just one person run the program instead of 2.
Any questions on that?
Can I speak to these items?
Number 2, 35, 36, and 37. These were prepared August 10th and August 7th. I thought this board had a policy that all submissions had to be in at least 5 business days out. Why were these?
We do, and it was me who asked to put them on here. I was worried about getting some of these projects done, and September was a ways away.
Okay, in the future, I'd appreciate just a little notice that these are coming because these were dropped the night before the meeting. So there's no time to review them. Thanks.
Okay, I wouldn't have put something on that was, you know, going to cost us or going to go.
COVID created.
Yeah.
But we did toss this issue around.
It's my fault. I'm the one that wanted that 5-day rule, so no one to blame but myself. Do you want to do a couple? Do you have other ones? You doing?
No, Rachel will do the others.
Okay.
So those are the only ones.
And somebody's here from Consumer Protection. Okay. So is there a motion on?
So we're looking at 1, 25, 35, 36, 37?
And 2.
And 2, sorry.
Is there a motion? Is there a motion?
Just a question for the number 2, the $15 an hour. How is that? You're using CARES money for that, or?
Yes. Yes.
So what happens in January?
In January, the position ends.
Okay. I'll make a motion to approve 1, 2, 25, 35, 36, 37.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
I'll hold my nose and I'll vote yes.
Thank you. Let's do consumer protection.
Good afternoon, Commissioners.
Afternoon.
Thank you for having me. Do I need to say my name for the record?
Sure.
Okay, my name is Michael Dana. I'm the Director of the Consumer Protection Department. Thank you for having me here today. I'm here to actually downgrade a position. We had layoffs in 2012. And the least senior people in the department, unfortunately, were laid off, which left us with the senior positions. I have 2 senior supervisors overseeing 1 person. So now our senior supervisor has recently retired. So instead of keeping that as a supervisor position, I'm proposing that we downgrade that to an inspector position. So I would have 1 supervisor and 2 workers, and it would be a savings of about $4,000 a year.
That seems painless. Questions? Is there a motion to delete that position?
So we're changing it, right? We're just downgrading it, numbers 21 and 22. I'll make a motion for 21 and 22.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, that was pretty easy.
Thank you, everybody. Have a
Thank you.
good day.
You too.
Treasurer, do you want to do yours real quick? I've just realized you only have 1.
It's pretty easy. Good afternoon. It's, we tabled this issue at last month's meeting. So what happened, we created a new position. I promoted somebody into the second deputy position, leaving her position open, which we are now deleting. So I would make the motion to delete the cash management administrator off of the table.
Is there a second for that motion?
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed?
It'd be nice if we could just call it delete from the floor. I mean, who's going to
Yeah.
object to a delete?
Okay.
I would
Security. And this is 34.
Good morning, Commissioner.
Good morning.
Mr. Control.
Hello, sir.
I brought Rachel with me here only because she may be able to fill in some of the blanks that I cannot. But basically what this is, with the administrative building now housing all the MHDP, drug and alcohol, and now with children and youth moving into this building, there are going to be individuals working, employees working in this building until 11, 12 o'clock at night. Basically, what I'm requesting is that since we're having people working in here and the possibility of caseworkers bringing in non-county employees, that a peace officer be hired so that we have somebody in here for their protection, the protection of the people that are visiting the administrative building, and that we can make sure that the building remains safe and secure when we leave at 11, 12 o'clock in the evening. I'll turn this over to Rachel, and she can explain maybe a little bit more about the financial aspect of this.
So this is a cost-neutral move for children and youth because since the Children and Youth Department moved over to the administration building the other week, they had a peace officer previously budgeted within their agency budget, and they also had one budgeted for the upcoming fiscal year. So there is no change in the salary for this position. And again, as Chris shared, since Children and Youth has a second shift and we have workers that are in the building later, in addition to our area agency on aging who moved in at the end of June, we think for safety and security of staff that having the peace officer until the 11 or 12 o'clock hour is safer for staff.
Any questions?
And this would be a new position.
Right.
Yeah, well, question, I guess, so, you know, there was a peace officer operating off-site, correct?
Correct.
So since you're not off-site anymore, wouldn't that peace officer just come back and be working here? Why do we need to hire an additional
I was
person?
afraid you were going to ask that, Commissioner. This is a little tricky. When COVID-19 struck and Doc Dansker was down at his place, and he's often asked for an officer to be stationed at his location, knowing that we had the officer coming from children and youth into this building, I gave up that officer to go to the health department and be permanently assigned there. So the officer that was coming from children and youth filled in for the officer that left for the health center. Now with this position coming, it's actually a new position because it was a trade out, but now the 4 to midnight shift is vacant.
It's the 4 to midnight that makes this
If
difference.
that makes
The children and youth only had a day shift person before.
Okay. Yeah, we thought we were going to be okay, just be a trade out.
Right.
But I lost one to the health center. So basically the officer that came from children and youth is now being absorbed for his spot, but it is still no cost because the children and youth had budgeted for an additional peace officer.
All right, so the officer who went to health department, how's he or she, if they were children and youth and then they moved to health department, how are they being paid for?
Doc Dansker has picked up
I see it.
salary.
Okay. All right. Okay. All right. I just
Yeah.
trying to get the pieces straight.
I understand.
All right. Okay. I'm
Any
good.
other questions? Is there a motion on that?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, as long as Rachel's here. Did you say opposed? No. Okay, just didn't. Okay. Why don't you do yours? And you can have a seat, and you have mental health, behavioral health, and human services.
Good morning again, Commissioners.
Good morning.
So the first change that I wanted to request is within the Human Services Department, and it's item 32. This is a change from the Deputy Director of Housing and Human Services to a new title, the Finance and Administration Manager. I'm making the change for a couple of reasons. Since housing is no longer within Housing and Human Services and it's been taken out, that contributed to somewhat of a downgrade within the position. Also, since I've been on the job a few months, I've recognized that I have significant strength in the directors within the Human Services Department in terms of their level of expertise in human services. So I didn't think that we needed that level within a deputy role. However, since this division oversees $225 million worth of funding in the county, I think having a high-level position dedicated to the finance and administrative oversight is still important. So I would like to change the max down from 378 to 85,000, and also request a title change to the finance and administration manager.
Any questions on that?
I have a question. When a finance and admin position comes up, we always have folks in the controller's office who are interested. Will this position be posted?
Is there someone in the position now who's just getting a pay cut and a name change, or are you hiring somebody?
No one's currently in the role.
Okay.
No.
So like any other job, I guess it would be posted, right? I see why it wouldn't be.
Technically, yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
I don't have anything.
Any other questions? Okay. Go ahead with, we're going to do mental health, MHDP. Do that one next? Okay.
So the next one on line 38 and 39, one of the changes that we're making within Human Services is that we're moving through an integration with our behavioral health departments and our mental health and developmental programs departments. So there's a new name for that department. It's now being called the Department of Behavioral Health and Developmental Programs. And again, we're bringing together behavioral health and mental health and developmental programs. So we need an administrator for that newly created position, or that newly created role. And as a result, since there's additional responsibilities with the behavioral health department coming over, I would like to increase the salary from the 103,156 to 110,000. So I'm requesting a title change from the current Administrator of Mental Health and Developmental Programs to reflect the new department, which is Behavioral Health and Developmental Programs, as well as the increase in the max salary.
Do you want to do the next one too, 4041?
And in addition, this is related, thank you, Commissioner, our current Behavioral Health Services Director is receiving, we're planning to change, since as a result of the integration, we're changing that title to Director of Managed Care Operations. Again, because this is a new integration and we are not fully through all the other upcoming changes that might occur. Right now, all we're requesting is a change in the title. No other staffing changes or reporting changes are occurring, and I would like her salary, this salary, to remain the same.
Any questions? Okay, is there a motion?
For all of them, right?
Yeah, you can do.
So 32, 33, 38, 39, 40, 41, I'll make the motion to approve.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Thank you.
Thank you.
Let's see, Register of Wills.
Good afternoon. I have 4 positions that I'm looking to make changes in. 3 of them I can do together, the 3 management positions, first deputy, second deputy, and financial coordinator. I'm just looking to raise the caps on those 3 jobs. I just wanted to have the flexibility to be able to offer some increases. My second deputy in particular went from first to second when we came in. She has the institutional knowledge of the office. All 3 of these positions during COVID have stepped up. We've revamped almost everything we do in our office. And our team during COVID was me and the 3 of them for quite some time. So that's why I'm looking to raise the caps for those. And the other position is a union position. It's an associate register position. I only have 1 person in my office with that job title and code. I've already cleared it with the union. I'd like to raise her from a 4 to a 5. She has taken on some additional duties, which are now part of that job, part of it through COVID, but it's everything that we've instituted is going to be an ongoing thing in our office. Everything that we've done will be a permanent change to how we approach our department. So I feel these people are deserving of these changes.
Were you going to delete a position?
Yes, we have an open clerk position that we've not filled. I think it's $44,000 for the year plus benefits for that particular job. That'll more than cover all the changes that I'd like to make for the rest of these jobs.
Can we put that deletion on here?
Of course we can. But I have a question. It wasn't on the submission, which is fine, but you did list it and the amount it would the cap that would come off. Before that action, if we take it, on budget, are you below budget, under budget?
For salary?
Yeah, this far through the year.
Below budget for salary.
And would that cover the increases in cap that you're requesting?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Because we haven't filled that open clerk position, we have more than sufficient funds to cover these changes.
Okay.
Any other questions? No. Did you want to make a, did you have?
Nope.
Do you have a motion? Want to make a motion?
Yeah, make a motion to approve these 4 changes. I don't have numbers for them, so.
And the deletion.
And deletion.
So we'll make it 5. Okay. Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Wait, there was somebody else I saw besides the controllers. Voting machines and everything. There's a couple on there. Okay. So Gail is here. And Tom? Do everything, but you can do it in groups.
Thank you, Commissioners. With that report.
Make sure you get the microphone back.
So voting machines is, it's my understanding, and Tom will correct me if I'm saying anything that's not appropriate, because I was not here when this change was made.
My understanding that the previous director of the Board of Elections.
I'm sorry, Ms. Humphrey, can you take the mask off? I know the sign language interpreters have some difficulty hearing you too.
I'll start over, I apologize. I said, you know, Tom Freitag is here. He is our director of the Board of Elections. And it's my understanding, and I said, Tom, please correct me if I'm wrong, but with the voting machines, the previous director of the Board of Elections had more permanent full-time staff.
Yes, and as they retired, basically the positions weren't filled.
Okay. So this would, and she had 3 full-timers and 2 part-timers?
Yes.
Okay. And right now, how many people?
Right now, we only have 1 full-time employee, and I believe it's 4 per diems, but only 3 of them really work full-time. Only 1 of them works just election days.
And so this is going to take 2 part-timers and make them full-timers?
Correct, yes.
And so on my position as division leader, I support Tom's request in that. The machines, the voting machines that we use now are dramatically different and a lot more cumbersome than the previous machines that were Danaher's. The Danaher's was compact in itself and kind of got rolled out and pulled up, and it was easy to do. The new law has us using paper scanners that have 3 pieces of equipment. In addition to that, we have to have tables in a cart. In addition to that, with the pandemic, we have to make sure that we have plexiglass shields, and we have hand sanitizer, and we have masks. So the amount of things that have been added for the warehouse folks to have to make sure that are prepared and ready to roll and going out to the polling places has increased probably 4-fold. And these folks have are willing to work full time. The part that I asked Bob to add to his job description is that in times when we are not rolling out voting machines, that they will come up to the Board of Elections, up to the admin building and help us. And that has been added to their job description.
Questions? Okay. Do you want to do the next set?
Do you want to do ballot clerk first?
Sure.
Okay.
So, ballot clerks, we're going to be deleting a lot of positions that are currently on the job board, salary board, that were per diem positions, and replacing them with ballot clerk per diems instead of the registrar per diems. This position is for basically, it's from only seasonal, when we're really the busiest at the time, so this would be between now and mid-December, when we would be processing the applications and election day and the post-election when we're doing the canvassing and auditing and all of that. This would eliminate a lot of the overtime and having to get help from other offices and having to reimburse them at a lot higher of a rate. And that we would be able to have these people that instead of using a temp agency, they would be county employees and have a little bit more of what's the word I'm looking for? Accountability, I would say. Instead of just being a temp, that they're working through the county, and that it would just be a lot of overtime would get eliminated, and it would be very helpful for our staff.
This is partly due to COVID, right?
This is definitely due to COVID. I mean, Act 77 and Act 12 changed the election law. They just happened last year. Was the first major changes since about 1937, which in and of itself, we expected there would be an increase in mail-ins. Then COVID-19 really started to pick up in February and March here in the States. And that's when we saw an explosion that now that people can vote from home, they don't need to have a reason, that they've really taken advantage of it. We saw 50% of our voters during the primary vote from home by doing a mail-in, and we expect that to continue during the general election, and that will be much more voters.
Okay. Questions on the ballot clerk?
More specific to the COVID-related need for these positions, are these going to be CARES funded?
Yeah, that's why I was kind of mentioning that.
And temp, they're going to, not temps, they're county employees, but these are from now until if approved, till December.
Right.
Correct, yeah, till about
Okay.
mid-December, so we could get through the whole count and everything, well, post-election.
And the positions are posted in that.
And using these ballot clerks will mean we won't have to rely as much on other county departments and agencies to be loaning us people? Is that it?
Hopefully, but I think we're still going to need that.
Microphone.
Yeah, we may still need some help, especially in the beginning right now before these positions really get filled. But the hope is that it would eliminate the need for, say, having people from the clerk of courts or people from the Register of Wills or Recorder of Deeds coming and helping.
Controller's office.
Controller's office, yes.
And I would say alleviate, not eliminate.
Yeah,
because
alleviate.
we have an enormous queue. But no, we still need their help.
We helped. We always do.
Thank you.
Any other questions on those positions? Okay, next one.
We do registrar next?
Okay, so the next position is Registrar, and again, we're looking to change per diem registrars to full-time registrars. Two of them, our hopes is, and we've been getting a lot of discussion with the Department of State. They want us to open satellite Board of Elections offices, especially the larger counties. Right now, people would have to come to Doylestown in order to do in-person absentee or in-person mail-in voting, which is difficult for people that maybe live in the upper end or the lower end. It takes half hour, 45 minutes to get to Doylestown. This would be a place where people would be able to have registrars posted at both those locations that people could do in-person absentee mail-in. They could do the whole process. They could apply. They could change their voter registration down there. Instead of them having to do it right here in Doylestown. And then the third position, we would like to add another registrar to Doylestown because currently we only have 4 registrars for about 460,000 registered voters.
And you have 11,500 new voters as of July.
Yeah, currently, yes. Voter registration closes 15 days before an election. It used to be 30 days. That was another change from Act 77, which made some time constraints on our office too. And because voter registration was closed from about May 18th, I believe it was, to just about early July, when we certified the election, that queue really just added up and built, and now we need to have extra people to be able to get this down in order to have everybody registered by November.
Okay. Go ahead. Any questions on those? Quiet. Do you have
Why don't you do the executive assistant next?
Okay. So there's 2 brand new positions that we hope to add to the Board of Elections. The first would be an executive assistant. This would be somebody that would be able to help in our office with both myself, the director, and Kelly Gale, our assistant director, mainly with her with the staffing of polls. Right now, we're really spread thin, especially after Act 77. We're really running 2 separate elections. We're running one by mail and then one which is still in person. Every polling place has to be staffed. And Kelly was the main person right now that does the staffing of the polls. This is a very time-consuming process, especially during COVID, where we have a lot of uncertainty with our regular poll workers that maybe want to work, but as it gets closer and closer to the election, we saw this in the primary, that we had a lot of veteran poll workers regrettably have to step down because of concerns with their health. We don't see that changing really in November, especially with talks of possibly second waves and things like that as schools reopen, that we may be losing poll workers very quickly and having to replace them rapidly. And with having only one main staffer that does this, it really was difficult.
One person does that job currently.
Yeah, and she's also, that's only one of parts of her job description, on top of doing budgetary things and things like that, that poll workers really need to be.
Okay. Questions on that? Okay.
And then lastly, the assistant election coordinator position we'd like to create. I can speak for the election coordinator position because that was my former position before taking over director. That has not only used to be just absentee voting and campaign finance, setting up the ballot, getting all the offices, but now mail-in voting. And mail-in, as we've seen, is a beast of its own. We saw, like I said, half of our voters use mail-ins in the primary, and we're going to continue to see that. About 60% of the people that voted by mail-in or absentee in the primary requested to be permanent absentees, which means next year in February, we're going to have to send them all applications. So it's not like this is just going to stop because the presidential year is done. Next year and moving forward, these people will all have the opportunity to vote absentee or mail-in again. And it's really one person, again, that was in charge of mail-ins and absentees that, with the way that the current law is now, it's very different than it was in years past, and it can't be done by one person really anymore.
And I would add the person currently charged with all those duties is also charged with when we do have clerk of courts and register of wills and everyone and the recorder of deeds who come in and help us. That person is charged with training them on the sheriff system.
Training
in
and
addition to these other 10 people, so we really allow us, we have people coming in, I would be a second person, so she doesn't have as many hours in the day.
Questions? So there's a whole bunch here. This starts at number 3. Correct me if I'm wrong, everybody, to 20, and then 23 and 24?
That looks correct.
Okay. Is there a motion to approve any of those, all of them?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, I think we are at the controller.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Wait, one moment.
I guess we're done.
Yeah, I guess we can just go.
We're back. Thank you. Controller, we are presenting, or I'm presenting 2 changes. In both cases, I'm requesting a cap increase. For item number 1 and 2, Deputy Controller, I'd like the cap increase there. I'm requesting a cap increase. Right now, that position is fairly close to the cap, and there's no flexibility. The reason I'm requesting such a large increase, relatively speaking, is planning so that I don't have to come back to the board in the future. On items 3 and 4, that is a person or position that is critical to the payroll function in the office, and that position is near the cap. There's no flexibility there, and the hope is to raise that cap so it would be on a scale consistent with the other payroll members in that department. Regarding budget, we have more than ample budget to cover this. These are modest requests considering how far under budget we are. Yet again, and the reason we're under budget yet again is because we're just an incredibly effective and disciplined office. Any questions?
Everybody else forgot to say that.
Which, of course, has everything to do with your deputy.
I didn't hear that.
So which, of course, has everything to do with your deputy.
The most important employee in the county. Thank you.
Probably yes.
Any questions for the controller? Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Are there other matters to come before the board? Ms. McKevett? Yes.
Commissioners, at the salary board meeting, I believe in July, we approved the Bucks County Supervisory Provisional COVID-19 Overtime Compensation Plan, where provisional overtime compensation for supervisory staff staff time worked on COVID-19 response efforts. Compensation is going to be provided to managers and exempt managers in various county departments ranging from $3,000 to $7,500 per employee. We neglected to add the Director of Emergency Management on the list, and this is a correction to that list, adding that position to it.
Is there a motion to do that?
I have a question. How was he not on the list, or this position on the list the first go round? You think this would have been the second person added to the list?
It's sort of like your office is perfectly functioning, but we had a little blip. Is there a motion for that? Okay. Is there a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Any other matters to come before the board? Seeing none, is there a public comment? Is there a motion for adjournment?
So, second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? We're adjourned.